Yum, yum.
All right, somebody said on Twitter that this was Modo's 20th anniversary. I didn't double check it, but it seems about right. So I went to my Foundry account, and all my previous versions of Modo are still in there. So I found Modo 103. That's the oldest one. I downloaded it. And let's see if it installs. Okay. I do accept. Congratulations. You have Modo 103. Let's do it. Oh, wow. You could choose your default navigation at layout or at install. So Modo, Maya, or Lightwave. Okay. Okay. Click finish. This is a Modo icon, Modo 103. License not found. Oh, I wonder if I can download my license still. Modo 103. License, Windows license, okay. And let's take a look. Do I have to install that? License install, okay, all right. So let me install the license. Yes. Oh, the now extinct, oh so rare perpetual license. Okay, let's see if this works. Boom. See how fast that loaded? Oh my God. Okay. Let me just sort of squish this down into the recording area. This is crazy. Okay. This, and sorry, 1 second. Let me just get it, make sure this is in the recording area. Okay, good enough. All right, here's Modo 101. 103, I guess, but so just 2 updates after 101. All right, we've got, this is it on the basic tab. We've got some deformers here. We've got some duplicate, some slicing, and a Boolean. So a lot of the same tools. The weird thing is, it's cut down. There's not as many tools as 17. So I look at, I'll fire up 17 here just to look at it. It's still basically all the tools you use on a regular basis. Now, Modo did not get a renderer, I believe, until 201, the first version of Alan Hastings' Modo renderer, and it didn't get animation, I believe, until 301. So Modo 101, or 103 in this case, look how long this has taken to load by comparison. The other one was like instant. Okay, so basic tab went to the create tab. We have a select tab here. We've got deform. This is our deform tab now. This is the deform tab then. So yeah, okay. Actually, I think we need to redo some of these things. Duplicate. Got some more options here. Mesh paint, some of these things. Came about later. Mesh edit. It's now just edit. I don't know that there's really... I guess he had bevel and mesh edit back then. There's no polygon. Oh, there's down here. So interesting. Okay. Anyway, I don't have to do all of them, but yeah, definitely vertex. These are also just smaller sizes by default. But anyway, yeah. So what could you do? Let's see. Let's make mesh here. And yeah, let's make a, there's no, okay, jeez. Oh, I think I'm in mouse mode. Wow, look at the preferences. Let's go to tablet mode. Work plane is active by default. So if we could delete that, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, all right. 2 for edge, whoops. 2 for edge. Okay, I have to do round level over here, so no omni-hull or anything. Q still drops the tool, but most people back then just use, oh, look at the selection normals are there by default. Most people just use space to do everything from cycle between these to also, you know, there is no item mode. There's no pressing 5 for item mode. There's, in fact, you can't move items anywhere. There's an item list, but there's no item properties. Okay, and we should be able to do fall off still. I think maybe you have to do these. Let's see if this, oh, there's a pie menu. Okay. Control space is the, yeah, okay. Did you do fall offs from, I'm not sure where you added them. I suppose up here. Okay, fine. Linear right mouse should be, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's still working. So this is sort of the revolutionary aspect of Modo 101, where it was fall offs and action centers. So, and this should still be the same. So let me just, let me start over here. Just make a cube and grab an edge and move it down. Drop the fall off. So I guess escape doesn't drop fall offs now. I have to go up here and say none. Okay. All right. So go to polygon, move tool. So Alt S is selection action center. Alt A is automatic action center, and you can move it wherever you want. So the action centers, if you haven't used Modo, action centers and the fall offs that I've shown are sort of the, and they're all shown down here on the tool pipe, which is kind of hidden now weirdly. So we've got our tool, we've got our action center and our action axis. So for instance, like Alt D for selection center keeps the axis at the world, essentially. It's still, you know, it's matched to the world axis. But for Alt S, it's matched to the axis of the selection. In this case, there's just one polygon selected. And so you can see it's the same axis as that normal there. And there's a bunch of them. They've added more over the years, but this is kind of what we have here. And we've got our action centers here. Now, if you look at 17, we've got a lot more in terms of action centers, including item action centers, and we've got a lot more fall offs as well. So again, like, you know, these are our fall offs here, handful of them, and the action centers here. Where in 17, it's just a lot more, right? Fall offs. Did some basic snapping. You could snap to grid geometry or guides, but there wasn't, you couldn't snap to like center of edges or polygons. Geometry is probably just vertices. But you could, you know, even 101, like constrain to background or constrain to primitive. So I could, you know, and then the work plane also, that sort of thing that's hidden by default now is visible default. Then that second grid that is changing depending on the view. Again, like essential how Modo works. It was really revolutionary at the time. I don't know if Shift Home was probably the same. Yep, still same keyboard shortcut. So I can align the work plane there, and then just you know, make a primitive aligned to that work plane, right? And so yeah, N should put the work plane back. Yep, same keyboard shortcut it is now. So yeah, like the basics of 17. Also, you see the info and stat panels, our vertex map list. It has some kind of cool stuff here. Like if I just see, I don't think I can shift click on these. I think I have to do, they call the mesh items layers. You see they're called layers. This is going back to Lightwave. And so I could just add different stuff in different layers. And the layers are, they're sort of, the unselected layers are hidden by default here. I wonder if I can change that. I'm not sure if I have a just one tab of options. Look at the options now in 17. Press O. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs. So, and some of these tabs are just freaking gigantic, right? So things were a lot simpler back then. So I don't know if I can show background layer wireframe flat shades, same as active. But it's not showing multiple layers, so it's sort of hiding that. I'm not sure where. That is. Trackball rotation is another sort of Modo thing. It's superior to the other sort of non-trackball rotation on other apps. I know not everybody's used to it, and they'll say, I like the other one, but trackball rotation is better. You can do stuff in trackball rotation that you cannot do in regular. Geez, the viewport is so much faster. Geez. And just sort of regular, sort of like navigation that other programs have by default. Anyway, so these are some of the things about Modo that were revolutionary at the time. It also had this like cool collapsing stuff here. You see how that collapses to a different panel with lists, then collapses again to another panel. And you can do the same thing with the mesh items. It can collapse to this sort of two different sorts of layered views. All this was like super revolutionary at the time. And you can still do this in 17, I believe, but nobody really does. So if I collapse, if I have a bunch of meshes here, I'm just clicking my Primo meshes, I should actually be able to collapse this all the way down. Yeah, you could still do it. You have the foreground and background layer idea still, and you know, in Modo, where they call it foreground and background items or active and inactive now. Really, it's active and inactive, but it used to be just kind of foreground and background. So, although I'm not sure why it's not visible here. Oh, I don't think I got that recorded. Yeah, you could still do this stuff in 17 like that. Oh, you have to checkbox it. That's what you do. So you have a foreground, and if you want to see the background, you checkbox it, and then you can show it in, you know, like wireframe or whatever if you want, like that. Interesting. Okay, so you checkbox it like that. That's different. But anyway, yeah, so it's just a modeling program, and these were all the modeling tools right here. That's all you had, Modo tools. And you had some symmetry and you had action centers, you had fall-offs, you had some basic snapping. Like I said, you could snap to the grid. If I do a curve here, you can snap to the grid. But I'm not sure you could snap to, it's kind of hard to even see that curve. That was a problem up until Modo 16. Let's try. You could snap to the grid. Can you snap to geometry? So if I want to snap to this, can I snap to, I don't know. Oh, you can. You can snap to vertices. That's it. Just vertices. So if I want to create this, I could snap to a vertice. Okay. You know, and I think one of the mistakes probably early on was not having a radius height method to some of these primitives where like it's kind of hard to create just a regular cone. You can create 1,000 variations on a cone very easily, but if you just want like a cone with a radius and height, it's hard to do. Same with cylinders, and that has just been fixed with Primo, but by Steve Hill, if you want to get that kit. But the good old bevel tool, and let's see. I think interestingly, if I go to edges, you see the icon change. But you don't have you just have one tab. You don't have you can go to edge here and go to bevel, but here it's smart enough to know like polygon bevel, edge bevel, vertex bevel. Like depending on the mode you're in, the icon changes. Cut, copy, paste. That's the other part of Modo that was always so fantastic, is you could just Control C, copy, new layer, Control V, paste, and it's shocking how many programs just can't do that, or it's like you have to get an add-on, or you have to get a plug-in, or it's some sort of big workaround to do it. In Modo, like it's always treated components and items, like over here, mesh items, sort of like layers and pixels. It's why I really wish they would make a bigger attempt to lure over like Photoshop users and Illustrator users, because it's kind of the same methodology. Same with the shader tree, really. It's just easy for 2D people to pick up. It's like, oh, you have a layer? Okay, fine. Oh, I want to copy these pixels to that layer or these polygons to that layer. Whatever. Just do that. You want to view, it's really pretty awesome how it worked. We did have weight maps early on, which is kind of interesting. Can we slice these? Loop slice. Can keyboard shortcut still works? I just feel like these tools are faster. They're working. They feel like they're faster. Ugh. Spin edge, remove edges. I don't know if we have just under mesh edit, we do have edge slice. Okay, so many of these tools have not been harder to use. But so many of these tools have not been updated for 20 years, or barely updated in 20 years, that we really need a lot of these things updated. I'm not sure we can slide this. Maybe it'd be under deform. I don't think we can slide yet. Yeah, no sliding. No sliding. The double click though for the loops, that was just a real like sort of a revolutionary way to work, and a Modo was the first one to really do that I know of. Maybe it's possible maybe Nendo or Wings 3D or one of those kind of more obscure like 7D modelers could do it, but I'm pretty sure Modo was the one who sort of reinvented the double click to select poly islands, the double click for loops. I'm pretty sure that was Modo. Also the right click that is doesn't select the obscured, and middle click that does. I think that's all. I think Modo just nailed selection right off the bat. They did such a good job with that. And enough other programs have sort of copied what Modo does to make it better. And I got to give Maya props. Like the WER for move, rotate, scale is all Maya. And same with T, the sort of tweak tool. Also Alt Move. Although Modo, as far as I know, is still the only one that lets you Alt right click and just throw the whole scene around. You can sort of like get a quick look at your model where you just go right click and then give it a spin like that. So pretty sweet. I don't know. Shader tree was its own thing. Again, this is the most unique, I think, texturing solution and out of all the 3D apps. Some people love it, some people hate it. People who use it love it. People who are first exposed to it hate it. There were basic constraints as well. So I can constrain to a background. So I could make this a background and then like draw a curve on it, I think. Or my curve tools down here. Oh, we did have our own curve tab and 103. I thought that was a later thing. Okay, so I can... Is it working? Maybe not. Let's see. Constrain, background. Okay, now I should be able to... Yeah, so you can barely see the curve, I know, but trust me, it's there. You can see it right. Let me just drop the tool and select it. There it is. Yeah, it's constrained to the thing. So again, as just a basic modeler, it was actually super capable. And I remember buying this when it first came out, and it was using Lightwave and Maya at the time. And I had sort of stuck with Lightwave Modeler for modeling because Maya's modeling tools were just absolute garbage. And even here, a few years later, after Maya copied as much as they could from Modo, and they absolutely did, they're still like kind of shit. And I don't understand how people model in Maya, but there's some really, really good Maya modelers. I just don't understand how they model in Maya because it's basically Modo 101 level modeling tools. But anyway, yeah, this is, as a basic modeler, it's super simple layout and super efficient. And there's been a handful of useful tools added over the years. Like I do think like, these like radial line tools are really useful. There's a handful of useful tools added over the years and updates. Like, the beveling tools have been updated and things like that. The biggest update you could do is getting Primo. My next, the thing I'm annoyed with now with modern Modo is I always thought like so Modo had this action centers and fall off tool pipe methodology, and the idea was, let me just make a cylinder here. Again, just using that the work plane to define your plane to drag on by using the directionality of the viewport. So Modo always, because it used action centers and fall offs, it kind of wanted to use them for everything. So the bin tool was really just like, well, I think the bin tool it's basically just a linear fall off with a rotation handle, right? And I think that one's actually pretty simple. Like I think there could be a better bin tool, but some of these other ones like twist, again, basically you see it's just like it's just a. Can I even change the axis on the handle here? I'm not sure I can. Weirdly, change the axis on the fall off, but I think I may have to like apply the twist using the work plane to get the initial axis, and I can't change it later. It just wanted to use action centers and fall offs for everything, where I think they'd be better off having an actual twist tool. And the thing is, that's still the case now, where if I want to twist this thing, it's still the same. Like none of these have changed in 20 years. So it's still this like, I've changed a little bit. I think I could change the axis of the action center here now. So I could do that. I just think we can have a better set of tool handles for twist. And this is the other thing. It's like the twist deformer, if I add it over here, looks completely different than the direct tool. So I do think like the deformation tools and the direct deformation tools, bend, twist, taper, and the ones, the mesh operations, need to be on parity. They need to be updated with modern tool handles, and they need to accept fall offs and all that other stuff, and mini props and hauling. Some of them just have hauling, and but they need to like look and behave like each other. And like there isn't even, for instance, a taper mesh op. It's just there's a taper channel, and there's a taper channel in the twist deformer. That's how you taper things. You add a twist deformer and then you play with a taper channel versus having like a taper tool. The problem is like this taper tool is the same. This has not changed for 20 years, and so it's still, you get your little fall off there, and then and an action center, and it's just like sort of, wait, what's going on? Like this seems wrong. I gotta like put my action center in the middle, try again. Okay, is there proportional handles? Okay, there we go. I don't know. There could be way better handles and stuff, and it's just the same thing as it was in Modo 101, right? And you still have these commands here, which was, again, I also thought this was kind of revolutionary. You have this whole command list here, so anything you're doing will show up here as a command, right? And then you could map that to, and you could double click, and I think you could no, you don't double click, you right click. I think you'd map any of these to a key like that, a hotkey. Yeah, you had scripts and macros, all this stuff in 101, which was pretty awesome. Work plane, again, hasn't been updated for 20 years. I think we need a work plane item. We need like the work plane. So, some of these things. So what makes Modo a Modo and why Modo is beloved by a lot of people are action centers, fall offs, work plane, all right, drag based modeling. So you're not just doing tool handles, you're dragging, right? And so if I'm moving, I'm just kind of drag anywhere, right? When nothing is selected, everything is selected, or you can just quickly grab something and drag. I don't have to just go, okay, I'm just going to use my tool handles here. It's a drag-based workflow. It's the work plane. It's the action centers. It's the fall offs, the tool pipe essentially, what you see right here, the tool pipe. It's the great Infosys stat panels and the vertex map panels. It's just really nice layout here, right? It's just really nice and efficient and fast. And then later on the shader tree and out of order operations for the deformations. Those are the things people love about Modo. But these sort of basic things like work plane, action centers, fall offs, the primitives, these deformation tools, none of these things have been updated for like 20 years. Like the fall offs, I just think they can look better. Like they just still kind of look, that's very efficient when you're drawing on a computer from 2004, but we can do better now, right? And also the fall offs here don't match the fall off items. So if I do if I do a move and I add like a radial fall off, you have this sort of purple thing with all these tool handles or whatever. You can move it around. So that's cool, right? But a fall off, if I do the same thing over here with a transform effector, and then I add a radial fall off here, it's like they look completely different. This one doesn't even have tool handles. You use drag workflow, which is great, or you have to type in things down here, use these horrible mini sliders. So there's just a lot that needs to be updated, and with the basic Modo stuff that we've loved for so long, it really needs to be updated. So I'm going to probably try and convince Steve. I'm telling you now, Steve, I'm going to convince you, just like you did with Primo. I'm going to convince you to like redo these things and give us matching mesh ops, because those things really need to be redone. But yeah, anyway, that was pretty awesome. If you want to play around with Modo 101, it's still in your account. You can download it today on your 21st or 20th anniversary. And honestly, I think it works faster, which is so weird. I guess it makes sense. I mean, it doesn't have 20 years of tech debt and all that other stuff, but wow. This was the day. So congrats to Brad Peebler and Stuart Ferguson and Alan Hastings and all the rest of the people at the original Luxology crew who created the software that we're still using, 20 years later. So great work. Really kind of fun to like boot this back up.
Yum, yum.